Hi everyone, welcome to season 1 of Use Your Stash Paper Scraps edition. This is challenge 7 and today we're kicking things off with a card that's all about bringing your scraps to the front instead of hiding them in the background. This idea was inspired by a beautiful card made by Helena Den Breyen, and I can't wait to show you how I've adapted it with my own twist. For this one, I've chosen a bold floral pattern and paired it with softer tone-on-tone pieces that were inspired by colours in that same pattern to create a layered look. Rather than cutting everything neatly, I'm tearing the paper. And because these papers have a white core, you get that beautiful soft edge coming through to the front. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It just depends on whether you like that slightly textured, more relaxed look. If you prefer not to have the white, just use the back. When gluing the pieces down onto my mat, I start from the bottom and work my way up, layering each piece and letting those torn edges overlap slightly. You can see here I'm being careful about my positioning, trying to make sure that using my grid, I have the piece evenly spaced on both the left and the right and along the bottom. When it came to my floral piece, I reached for this lovely succulent pattern and I hit a little hiccup. This piece didn't quite tear the way I wanted. So I just worked with what I had and retore it and layered it. And honestly, that's the beauty of this technique. It's really forgiving. Once everything's in place, I go in and gently lift those torn edges with my fingernail to add just a touch more texture. Then I bring in that stitch detail using my paper piercer and a white gel pen to create that faux stitched look across the layers. You can see here I've started along the top with a straight line of stitching, and then I slightly vary that with a second row that is angled from left up to the right. When it came time to choosing the card base, in this original sample, I went with a soft pool party, the lightest color in the floral patterned papers I featured. In this one with the succulents, I chose mint macaron as the base and I glued that into place. To finish off, I added a little die cut leaf and a simple sentiment. In my original sample, P.S. You're the best inspired the sentiment. In this one, I'm going with thoughtful banners and picking up the words Sweet Mum. This is stamped with Memento Tuxedo Black on basic white cardstock. I reached for my classic label punch to cut these. I like the way that it helps me create a nice neat little rectangle with a straight line. I've attached those using dimensional foam, mini dimensionals here. When I first put the top sentiment on sweet, I put it on nice and straight, and as I was putting it all together, I lifted it and angled it a little bit to give it a more relaxed, natural feel that I felt went along well with this torn, scrapped feature. And that's our finished card, alongside with the original inspiration. Now, if that torn look isn't quite your style, I wanted to show you another way to use the exact same idea, but with a cleaner finish. For this version, I'm using those strips and turning them into little banner shapes. I don't have a die for this, so I created a simple template using scrap cardstock. This white piece was actually a backing piece for a DSP pack at some point. I cut it to the width my banner pieces needed to be, and then I scored it down the center. And then I scored it about 1 centimeter in to help give me a guide for my banner ends. And that gives me a perfect little banner shape to use over and over again. When I trace this little homemade stencil, I always flip my patterned paper over and draw on the back, so that way any pencil marks will stay hidden from the final design. Once they're cut, I layer them in the exact same way as before, working from the bottom up and keeping the spacing consistent. The only time I didn't keep the spacing consistent was with that beautiful patterned butterfly panel that I chose to feature in this variation. I allowed that to be a little bit wider so that that butterfly could really be shown off. As I was looking at it, I decided to swap this top piece out. It was green, and I changed it for a pink because I felt like the green just wasn't sitting quite right. The pink, I felt like, balanced everything together better. And again, I added that same stitch detail off camera to tie the two designs together. Now comes the fun part, choosing a base colour. I tried a soft yellow, a pale pink, and briefly considered the coral, but that one was a quick no. I actually went back and forth between the yellow and pink. They both worked beautifully. I'd love to know, which one would you choose? Would you go the soft and subtle with the pink, or a little brighter with the yellow? And in the end, I chose the yellow. It just lifts everything slightly and brings out those warmer tones in the patterned paper. So here they all are, the original inspiration, the torn version, and the banner variation, all using the same idea, just interpreted in slightly different ways. I hope this gives you a fun way to use some of the patterned paper scraps in your stash. Whether you love that torn textured look or prefer something a little cleaner with the banner style, I'd love to know which version you prefer, so let me know in those comments. I also had an extra variation that I created built on this idea. It was a little bit of an experiment that I'll be sharing as a little bonus to my email subscribers. So do jump on over to my blog for more information about that. Look forward to seeing you in the next challenge very soon. Bye-bye.